What's up, guys? Today, I'm going to be starting something a little bit new. I'm going to be trying a new series that I'm going to title Blocking Bullshit. It's going to be about basically what the title implies, blocking bullshit characters. How to approach defense and how to structure your defense versus characters with very fucked up set play situations and very fucked up on block pressure situations. First character for our first episode is going to be Rachel. So, I'll go over the general ideas of how you should think about defense versus Rachel, and then I'll break it down into more specifics. So, the general idea of defending against Rachel is when she's directly in your face, you want to... There's a decent amount of RPS that you can employ whenever you sprinkle an IB when she's right on top of you. You can never straight up just mash, but you can threaten options like IB backdash, IB reversal, IB OD in very specific instances. Kind of just gotta know what you're looking for, and then depending on what your character can do, you can do stuff like IB parry, IB projectile, whatever, IB foot and vuln, etc., etc. Kind of just need to know what it is you need to know. So that's the idea whenever she's directly on you, but another big part of her offensive structure is she suffers pretty hard from pushback, and the further back she gets pushed, the more she has to commit to get back in, and sometimes it'll give you options against her pressure that you wouldn't have while she's in your face. So the trade-off there typically is if you IBB, typically that one extra frame is going to prevent you from having a gap. Like, what's a good example? Like 5B, 6B has a 1 frame gap on regular IB, no gap on IBB, so you kind of gotta be cautious of what you're doing there. Same for like 6B instant overhead has no gap on IBB, even though it gets pushed back a lot of the time, just enough to let you DP, but besides the point, just like to provide a good example. And then sometimes IB will also take away options from you. Like a good example would be 6B, wind forward 3C. If you would IBB that entire string before, the first hit of 3C would whiff and you'd be able to DP. But if you didn't IBB that entire string before that point, even if you IB, you're not gonna have a gap there. You kind of gotta read what you think the Rachel's gonna be doing and then do whichever one accordingly, and then take whatever actions you can to give yourself the best fighting chance. It's a lot of the mentality behind it should be, I want to know exactly what my best RPS rotation is, so that when I know what option Rachel's going to commit to, I can punish her hard and just blow her the fuck up. And that just makes a world of difference in terms of how you can approach the defense versus her. I'll kind of just jump straight into things, so I'll start off with her super basic pressure options, like how she initiate. I'll leave set play to the side for now, and we'll go over it later. But just out the gate, right this second, some key things to note are she suffers a decent amount from pushback. Of course, she can always get back in with wind, but it's important to keep in mind how much IBB affects her. Like, set the bot to IBB. Stuff like this is really important because if you IBB her out of her ranges, it really guts her high-low mix, because all of a sudden she has to commit to really awkward options like that to still enforce true 50-50 situations, and that gives you just a lot more room to breathe basically compared to not doing that, just letting her get way more mix in a much smaller situation, like for free. The trade-off you want to make with Rachel is if she tries to vary her timings, you want to punish her for it. So like anything she can do to vary the timing of her high-low, you want to try to blow her up for it so that she has to do it in a predictable manner, and then you can get away with fuzzy blocking. So now that that's out of the way, that was the main thing I wanted to talk about for like the mentality you should have when blocking her. I'll go into a lot of specifics. So first off, I kind of want to describe this little RPS that she has off her overhead. It's pretty important that a lot of people don't really think about too much. So this is important to know that if you IB her second JA in this situation, you get to crouch the fuzzy, and then you get to punish her in a lot of instances. Oh, not if I fuck up my IB. Oh, this is really good to know. This is really, really important. The thing she has to fight that is, if she does JB, the same will not work. You can't crouch it. But the difference is that JB is a mid, so you can RPS with her on this situation. Make it really obnoxious for her to guess and make her want to just say fuck it and not try to go for the fuzzy, and then from there your life gets a lot easier and she gets one less mix-up per win bar spent, which is really, really impactful for you as a defender. She can of course not opt for the fuzzy and then just continue her pressure, but like I said, negates a mix-up, really valuable for you burning her wind economy, which is a lot of what your offense will be about, or your defense will be about anyways. Just a really good thing to represent. I mean, if they don't respect it, then like I showed, you get to punish her, and you get an actual good punish. You get a B or C starter punish, so you can blow her up. So you really want to keep an eye on that. It's also important to note, you can DP her instant overhead. You can kind of backdash. It's important to understand the RPS on the backdash because she can definitely catch it, but it's one of those things where it's like, if you push her out far enough, maybe she can't catch it easily, or maybe if your character has a really fast recovering backdash, she won't be plus enough to outright punish you. It's something you kind of gotta study and figure out on your own, but it's good to know. The RPS on the high-low, like after you get past this point, is Rachel can always do gapless 2B off 5B. She can off 5A. Which is really good to know, because like I said earlier, if you IBB her to specific ranges, it makes it so that off 5B she can't do 2B and she has to commit to 3C, which makes everything just a lot more risky. But the main thing to note off 5B is 2B can always be gapless, but the issue with that is that obviously if she makes 2B gapless, it has a different timing than her instant overhead, and that makes the situation a lot easier. I won't say a lot easier to fuzzy, but it makes it fuzzyable. And that puts the ball in your court quite a bit to force her hand into putting no gap in that block string by representing options that make her do so, because then you just get to defend pretty easily, get to autopilot your fuzzy block timing, and that's that. Like I just fuzzy blocked there. My character didn't stand up because he's eating 2E block stun, but I did just fuzzy block that string there, and my character didn't give a fuck because there's no gap, and I fuzzy blocked properly. So this is the same gap, the exact same gap as the instant overhead, which I'll show you. Both are 3 frames. So it's really good whenever you force her to start doing this, because all of a sudden, all the options that you have against instant overhead work against her low now. And the low has more recovery than the instant overhead, so in a lot of the situations where it'd be like, you'd be maybe punishable, but it'd be an awkward situation for her, or it'd be like return to neutral. After a backdash, you can kind of assert yourself a little bit more. Like, +3 isn't fantastic, but it's not bad for this kind of spacing. On a character like Ragnar, you can definitely dash 5B. Oh, not if I suck. Or you can just 5B or whatever, and make it pretty hard for her to deal with. Ragnar's 5B specifically will catch like backdash and jump in these situations quite frequently, but some other characters might not be as fortunate, or might have slightly worse backdashes, but good to keep in mind like what you can do. Just keep the general idea open. I'm going to go ahead and show some specific examples now on things you can represent, depending on your character, into instant overhead or low, like the gapped low. Because some characters have some interesting options. A lot of characters can actually low profile the instant overhead and get pretty decent reward. Oh shit, wrong recording, whoops. So it's good to keep in mind what your character can do. Alright, so branching past what we just went over for the initial start of her pressure sequencing, I'm kind of going to be taking a look in this section at more so the midpoint of her pressure. So I guess this would be like once you start to push Rachel out a little bit and she extends past her initial jabs and initial B starter, or initial 5B, that's what we're kind of looking at here. Or what options do you get whenever she pushes herself out pretty far? So first off, it's good to note there's a 1-frame gap on 5B, 6B. You can leverage backdash, DP, stuff of that nature. Strong to just remember and keep in mind and represent when possible. So the thing here is that you don't actually get this. Like I was mashing DP there after that IVB. So you don't get that on instant barrier block. You only get it on regular IV, which kind of forces a mind game from you because it doesn't let you challenge her after her 5B, and forces you to respect the 6B and then deal with the situation after. But dependent on how far you've pushed her back initially, like to begin with, that might be fine. So I'm going to show a string that is strong for Rachel and what she can do if you opt to IB or normal block a string and not represent pushback at all. Oh, whoops, that was the wrong recording, my bad. So she can do stuff like that. She can do jump into downwind or jump downwind to just get instant overheads immediately. So that's the downside of keeping her too close to you. Obviously, like I said before, if you do this, you get the opportunity to DP the 6B. You have more opportunities to IB DP if she goes for like any other delays. But it's a little risky just due to the nature of you have a decent amount more options whenever you push her further back. So I'm going to play the same string and I'm just going to IBB everything. The thing there is that 2-wind will whiff. Like jump 2-wind into button. And what this means is that she has to commit to 3D instead of 2D. And by doing so, she gives you a lot of time to press buttons. So that's definitely the RPS you need to be thinking about in this situation. Is am I going to push Rachel away, or am I going to keep her close to give myself a better chance to IBDP or something? Another part of that do I IB versus do I IBB RPS is stuff like 3C will whiff from far spacings if you IBB, but if you IB regularly it won't. So like I keep forgetting to change my recording. Whoops. Let me bust out the handy dandy frame data calculator for us. There's no gap on that. There's no opportunity for me to DP. Nothing I could do. However, if I push her back, I can DP all of a sudden, which is a pretty big plus in your favor. That's also worth noting. This isn't super related. You can kind of look at the direction the wind blows in to see if you can act certain ways in a situation. If you see the down diagonal wind like that, you can always jump if she's spaced out to a certain amount, just because it won't push 3C far enough forward to hit you on the first 2 hits, and instant overhead has a bit holy fuck, I can't speak. Has a big enough gap that you can jump out. Depending on your spacing, of course, but you'll kind of get a feel for what that distance is eventually. Alright, now to kind of move into the closing section, the last part, defending against Rachel. It is how you structure your defense against her set play and against her fireball spacing trap game. So, something annoying that Rachel can kind of represent as a character is space fireballs to uphold pressure situations that are obnoxious to deal with. So, like, for example, move this frame calculator out of the way just a little bit. Get the shit out of my face. This shit's +6. +6 at a pretty obnoxious spacing. If I fuzzy jump forward into it, she's still plus. But I do have options here. And that's the key thing that you need to keep in mind. Dash forward, crouch barrier will beat everything, except for obviously instant overhead. Well, here, let me phrase it like this. Dash forward stand block will beat instant overhead and all projectiles, and dash forward crouch block will beat instant overhead and obviously all low options, as long as you have her at a proper spacing to get caught by the first hit of 3C. So let me show y'all how different dash block options will affect the frame advantage. So there, I dash block standing, it becomes +5 instead. I dash block crouching, it becomes something more akin to 0. Crouch blocking has worse frame advantage for sure, because it lets the fireball travel on its arc longer, but it has some other unique special properties, I should say, that come up in other situations, just to kind of think about. Another thing is you can neutral fuzzy jump almost always. Forward fuzzy jump will get beat by a lot of shit, which can be annoying. I really like forward fuzzy jumping in this game, so it's a habit that I kind of have to break when I'm fighting this character. Just get out of the habit of, but it is decent. Her anti-air is really strong, so it can be annoying, but her grounded dash isn't amazing, and her anti-air also isn't extremely horizontal, so you can kind of super jump ID away, generally kind of get out to neutral, be fine. But then I'll discuss, or I'll show some like more character-specific options to fight this. So certain characters can low profile, and then if you're Jin, you just fucking nuke her. There are a decent amount of characters who can do stuff like this. Obviously, if you're on like Azrael, could like Growler, Fireball. I'll go ahead and show a few examples of that now. Dash blocking is going to be pretty safe though for most characters, and it's definitely something you should keep in mind. Her fireball spacing trap game isn't super complicated. It's kind of just always dash into it if you can. Kind of take that situation as you can. The annoying thing is if she has wind, of course she can just do her fucking instant overhead. She can do wind forward 3C. And if you dash into it, all of a sudden it becomes... If she's at these like annoying spacings where fireball RPS is kind of ambiguous, is it like, is she going to go back in with wind or is she going to throw fireball? You do have to guess there. Because the things that will beat one thing will lose to the other in some sense. Like, Dashing forward is really good versus the fireball, but obviously dashing forward negates the travel time for it to wind, like 3 wind into you in JA, and all of a sudden maybe you don't have time to 6A, maybe you don't have time to do your anti-air anymore, maybe you don't have time to fuzzy jump in that situation. Kind of gotta pick and choose and guess a little bit on what he thinks she's gonna do. But besides that, it's not super complex. I guess the other thing I should note is sometimes she'll do downwind plus B fireball instead of A fireball. This is a little bit more situational. The thing with this one is you can just dash all the way under it. That forward dashing and burying will do the same thing. It'll be more effective versus your jumps and stuff, but if you get all the way under it, you can just punish her with almost any character. Like, any character could do something like that. Just something to keep in mind for sure. That kind of concludes her fireball spacing trap game. So now I'm going to pretty much close off what we need to talk about here with Sword Iris RPS. So the way that Sword Iris functions is it's a super plus on block pressure reset option. Can be really frustrating to deal with. And she gets the RPS around it. Like, if it's set on top of you, it's so threatening and strong that sometimes you can just no cancel and get away with really belligerent stuff in your face just because the threat of the option exists. So, like, for example, she could do 6B no cancel, she could do 3C no cancel, etc, and then just continue to repressure you because you're scared of the Iris popping and you getting counter hit for a bajillion damage. Same goes for, like, if she thinks you're gonna reversal into it or something, she could always just stop and just watch you, and then you kill yourself, and she took no real risk. You just fucking explode because you're getting a counter hit starter with Iris on top of you, or Rodson on top of you. But let me get into the actual RPS of the situation real quick. Most characters have to respect this situation. The thing is, universally, you can punish it with IBOD if you have the read. More importantly, if you IB it, it's -1. Which, her buttons at certain spacings can be a little obnoxious, so being +1 isn't like a guaranteed turn back for sure, but it does let you contest her. And it definitely gives you a lot more breathing room than her being +2 in your face. But the thing is that Rachel is going to be greedy, and she's going to opt for TK Sword Iris whenever possible. A lot of people let her get away with this way too often. Most people don't really understand this situation, but I want you to watch the gap here. I'm not even going to IB. 11 frame gap on non-IB. If I do IB, 14 frame gap. You have so many options to fight Sword Iris, like TK Sword Iris. You just have to have the read on is she going to do it or not, but if you know she's going to do it, you can kill her. A lot of characters, or some characters will have options that'll beat both. Like, most DP characters can dash DP if their input's clean, which my inputs are not clean right now. Dash DP should beat both, even at far spacing. For characters with good DPs like Ragna, especially a character like Naoto or something. Characters that have like a frame forward guard point option or reversal option can IB and then deal with both. Like Hakumen could do IB held 5D, Bang could do IB dash 5D and escape both or deal with both. Decent amount of shit like that exists in this game. Definitely just a good thing to understand how Sword Iris Pop works and just be ready. Like I said earlier, a lot of fighting Rachel and defending against Rachel is understanding RPS situations and then just cashing out as much as possible whenever you have the read. So knowing that you can directly contest something like that to that extent is very important. Alright, I'm making this little additional section on the RPS of the 3C situation, just because I realized I forgot to do it right before I was gonna post. So 3C -2. Doesn't have a ton of pushback, so if you IB some of the hits of it, or make sure you just don't bury her throughout the duration, kind of leaves her right in your face at the end. It's never punishable, and she can RPS a little bit, but the RPS isn't super real. It's only real if there's a Lobelia right in front of you, and she can kind of threaten a couple different options. So I'm gonna bring you the first layer for whenever she has set play on deck. So only the first hit is a low. It might be the first two, but the later hits of 3C are never lows. You just mash DP if you expect her to cancel into Sword Iris. I guess the caveat to that is since it is only barely minus, it's not very risky for her to no cancel it and bait your DP. Same deal for she can catch air and that'll beat your DP. Which if you have RC, you don't really have to care too much about either option, but still something to keep in mind. So that's the situation, I guess, whenever she has Fireball out. But if she doesn't have Fireball, the RPS becomes a lot more linear. So Throw will beat Catch Air. Throw will beat all of her mash options. The only thing she can do to escape throw is, I mean, she can tech it. You do have to be wary of her teching the throw, and then all of a sudden you're back to corner once again versus Rachel, and she's at a spacing that's difficult to contest. So the throw isn't always the most optimal thing to go for. It leaves you at a disfavorable spacing if you're already in the corner. But it's pretty safe, generally. The other thing she can do, though, she can always just leave the situation. And here, she's not punishable at all. She's still only -2, and now she's full screen again, which this lets you out of a direct offensive situation, but all of a sudden you're back to neutral versus Rachel. So, I mean, you take the W there, but still a little annoying to deal with. That's basically it as far as the 3C situation goes. Not super complex. Just kind of have to be careful of the Sword Iris being popped so she doesn't kill you. She can also frame trap you with Fireball, but not too much to say there really. Just IB it and punish her. It's only annoying if she's at like a really awkward spacing. That's not gonna come up too frequently. Realistically, it doesn't come up much at all. I don't think she can really do much of anything to negate the Fireball being punishable at this spacing. So yeah, that's that. One thing I forgot to mention, keep on forgetting things, I'm gonna go back and then editing this video, is she can always press 5B or 5D at the start of her pressure situations, or sometimes in the middle of her strings to push herself back in and negate IBB. Like, so, like in the same situation, it wouldn't work without 5D, but you're kind of chilling in this situation. You kind of just have to approach it like you don't get as many options to fight her mix-up. Like, you get the frame disadvantage from IBB, and you get the pushback of IB, essentially. You kind of get the worst of both worlds, but at the same time you don't care, because all of a sudden she just burned an extra win bar to do 0 mix-up and push herself closer to you. So if you get the Rachel players to start doing this, you're winning. Take that dub all day. Say you get hit by instant overhead here, all of a sudden Rachel only has 2 bars to convert. She's not going to do a ton of damage. She's probably going to need to spend a 3rd win bar. She's going to get maybe 2 back by the time her offense starts back up again, unless she spins Tempest Dahlia. You're like super chilling that situation. If you don't get hit by that initial mix-up and you're enforcing everything else we've already discussed, and she has to spend 3 to 4 win to hit you, then you're fucking golden. If you can make Rachel spend 3 win before she hits you, then that is a massive win in your book. Because the next time she starts her offense, her pressure is going to be gutted. She's going to have very little wind to enforce any RPS situation with you. And she's going to have very little wind to do any damage. Like, if she spins 3-4 wind and gets an instant overhead, she's going to do like 1.5k. You don't really have to give a fuck. Definitely something to keep in mind for the RPS. Alright, coming back one more time because I just realized I didn't film an outro. That's the end. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you learned something. If you did, I'm happy for you. Like I said, might continue on this series with more characters. Could be neat, but we'll see. As far as advice goes for my production quality on this, I would just hold it, because I'm not doing any more work than this. I'm not gonna lie to you. Well, thanks again for watching. Peace.